So for number 10, again, we have this figure. I didn't write what's on the right side because we don't need it. Okay? So again, I have nested triangles. I have two triangles. I have the small one, where this is 30, and this is 14. And then I have the larger one that this small one is inside of, where this is 22, and I don't know what this whole length is, because notice there's an x here, and there's a 30. I could call this x plus 30, but that's going to complicate our lives. So I'm going to call this a different variable, okay? Since I don't know it. I'm going to call this, let's call this k, for whatever reason. Now, I can do the same exact thing I did earlier. I can come up with a proportion. If you want to find the scale factors going back and forth, you could do that. Again, you just make a ratio of the two sides. Let's try proportions again, because I feel like that's what everyone needs more practice on. So if I make a proportion, this time instead of comparing the two sides on the same triangle, let's compare the corresponding sides. Okay? So if I use 30 as one of my sides, 30 corresponds to k. And since I use the side on the small triangle as my numerator, I have to use a side as on my small triangle as my numerator on the other side. So that's going to be 14 over 22, because 22 is its corresponding side. Now, to make my life easier, I'm going to reduce the fraction on the right side. So I get 30 over k. 14 and 22 are both divisible by 2. So I get 7 over 11. Okay. Now I can cross multiply again. Remember, when I'm cross multiplying, I've got 30 times 11 and k times 7. So I get 7k equals 30 times 11. It's 330. This is simple enough. You just divide both sides by 7 to get k by itself, and k equals 330 over 7. Now, the fact that it's a fraction doesn't matter. Leave it that way. You don't need to divide. You don't need to get a mixed number. You don't need to get a decimal for sure, because that's going to go on. So just leave it alone. If you feel more comfortable getting it into a mixed number, fine, go for it. I have no issue either way, because they're all equivalent to each other. But now you need to realize we solved for k. K was what? K was the length of this entire side. So if I'm looking at the original, it's this entire side. Well, I know that this entire side is comprised of x and 30, right? But I also know that the whole thing is 330 over 7. So if I think about that, then I know that x plus 30 equals 330 over 7, because if I add x and 30, it gives me the whole length, right? So now I just solve this. To solve this, I subtract 30 from both sides. Subtract 30 here. These cancel out. I subtract 30 here. So now it says x equals 330 over 7 minus 30. Oh no, we're subtracting with a fraction. Guess what we need? That's right, common denominator. I have a denominator of 7. Easy enough. X equals 330 over 7 minus, I multiply 30 over 1, both the numerator and denominator, by 7. I get 210 over 7. When I subtract, I leave the denominator alone. I only subtract my numerators. So I get x equals 120 over 7. And that's what x is. That's what the missing side was that I was looking for. And that's done.